Previously on Anything Goes.
But the only news that is fit to be told today is the pregnancy of Kate Middleton.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I was saying to you off the air or whatever, because she's 30, right? Or she's 29?
Yes.
Yeah, so I feel like that's the age when like the chicks got to pop the babies out. Because I just had my birthday on Friday. I turned 34. Oh,
very nice.
Right, I did. But like a lot of my girlfriends are like, oh my God, if you don't have a baby by the time you're 35, like you're going to have a downy. And I don't know what that is disturbing on so many respects because that freaks me out.
When you said that downy is just a cutesy, cuddly way of saying Down syndrome, then...
They're saying you're going to have like messed up babies if you have babies after 35.
I know, which is...
Or maybe I'm going to have a fabric softener.
Or if you wanted a Down syndrome baby, then...
They were kind of cute.
Well, they don't age well. But they live long lives, don't they?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they just live but they don't age mentally, and that's what's cute about them, I suppose.
Neither do you, Dave.
But, well, no, I don't either, but that's my choice. But which I always disagree with when, what's-her-face, Sarah Palin said that these mentally challenged children or children with special needs are gifts from God. She used to always say that, but I always thought, if that's true, then how come nobody ever wants one? Nobody ever, if it's a gift from God, how come nobody ever wants one? You never hear anyone say, I don't care if it's a boy or a girl, just as long as it's retarded, or just as long as it has Down syndrome. I've never heard that. But I think if they were truly going to try to make Down syndrome a little bit more friendly or cutesy, then I always thought that they should put the word boogie on the end of it, so it's boogie Down syndrome. But then they're called...
And now... let's get to a new exciting show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready for some laughs? Are you?
Smoother than a stripper's area. This is Anything Goes with Darren Frost.
How the fuck am I funny?
Dave Martin.
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
And Kathleen McGee.
And I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you!
Can you dig it? You can just use that as a prop in your next 8x10 shoot.
Yeah, I will. And I'll hug it and I'll caress it gently. That's another headshot that has always bothered me when someone's holding their hands up to this. Have you seen that one in a lot of like, I'm dangerous, I'm shooting myself with a finger gun. So,
I did it back in the day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, well, I had all these ones where I'm hanging myself with the mic cord.
Oh, okay.
And all kinds of stuff, yeah.
I'm not far from doing that either, but...
Hold on, I'm going to turn my light off. I think it's too bright.
Now, Dave.
Yes.
You're coming across quite hot now to me. Is there a way to turn yours down?
Quite hot.
Like loud.
Oh, really?
I'm wondering if that's me, just on my end.
Maybe that's on your end.
That's on my end. Okay. Yep. That's me. That's fine.
I gotta get a microphone. That you're goddamn, who was that asshole from last week?
He's not an asshole. You just didn't like his opinions. You didn't like his opinions on Bruce Hornsby.
Yeah, Bruce Hornsby, yes. I didn't like how I sounded against the Bruce Hornsby guy. I'm not saying he's an asshole. I'm just saying that, I don't know.
You just did, but now you're backtracking. That's okay.
Well, I'm not backtracking.
No, I liked him.
Yeah. I was saying to Dave that I just watched an episode and a half of the Comedy Store documentary.
Oh, yeah.
The Showtime. So I watched kind of like 70s and the start of the 80s one.
Yeah.
And it took me back to a time where I really cared about stand-up comedy, because when I was a young teenager, all I watched were all these guys. And it was pretty amazing to see them in the documentary talk about things like guys like Jeff Altman. I mean, I don't even know if you know who Jeff Altman is, Kathleen. Do you?
Yeah, I watched the documentary finally. I didn't want to watch it for a while because it made me really sad.
Yeah, me too.
Because I loved honestly, when I was at the Comedy Store, that was my favorite time, and it wasn't even like that popular. It was just before it got really popular again. And I was like, I don't know if I can watch this because I'm gonna get really depressed that I didn't get to stay. But yeah, no, the Jeff Altman,
the Jeff Altman part was very hot. Was pretty tough to watch. It was.
Now, which part though? Because I've only seen it. I've only seen a little bit of it, and all he's really said was that he was incredibly lazy, and that's why he didn't really probably succeed. And what's interesting about that is, so I knew Jeff Altman back in the day, like really when I was really young, because I saw him on TV, and I'd memorized a lot of spots. Like I would videotape people's spots on Tonight Show and watch them back and all that stuff, and I really, really, really was interested. And I remembered his jokes, and then I worked with him about maybe 8 years ago at the Super Club, maybe less even, maybe only 5 years ago. And he was still doing that exact same material. And, you know, it still did all right, but it was a different kind of era material. The crowds, he did okay. He didn't bomb or anything. But there was that sense of like, really, dude, you're still doing this and it's been 30 years, you know?
Well, he had a joke about going down to the front desk and renting a VCR. And this was in the 2000s, and you're sort of like, you have to be a little bit more self-aware. I think the one thing he does say in the documentary is that he says that he took every single opportunity that came his way when maybe he should have been a little bit more selective, and he probably wasn't ready for a lot of the opportunities he had. But I mean, everybody has that story. I mean, and you know, hindsight's 20/20 when you look back on it, and but also the idea of someone that early in their career in show business that's turned something down.
But like comedy, like stand-up, they used to be able to keep an act forever and just keep doing the same one over and over. And then it changed, and more people like wanted to be like Carlin, and more people wanted to be like Louis C.K. More people wanted to write a new hour every year.
Right.
So then it pushed everybody to be like, you have to start writing it. If you're not going to write, then don't even stay in the business, because you can't be doing your material from 5 years ago. And like, I'm not even writing anything. I feel so like I have nowhere to perform. I have nothing to do. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, I don't have anything to talk about or write about because I'm doing absolutely nothing. So, you know, like
both of you turned down my opportunity to be in a Zoom show if you wanted to.
And that's the other thing. Like, it's a Zoom show thing. Like, I'm sure all these new comics, or the younger comics, are probably like, Zoom's where it's at. You just got to do it. If you want to see it, you just got to do it. And I'm like, am I phasing myself out of stand-up because I don't want to do these dumb Zoom shows? If the future of stand-up is Zoom, I don't want to be a stand-up comedian anymore.
Well, no,
if clubs don't come back, I don't want to be a stand-up comedian anymore. It's just not for me. Like,
oh no, I agree. I'm not really looking forward to doing it. But if anything, it's sort of like I want to do one just so I can complain about it later, or at least talk about how shitty it is. It's sort of like I only went out when the first time I ever went out west. It was just as the show in Fairview was canceled, and as horrible as people said that show was, I wanted to do it just so I could have that.
You did it.
Yeah, just to say I did it. But it's funny. I almost think that Zoom shows might now be what's called paying your dues as far as a comedian goes.
That would be nice. That would be kind of nice, because I feel like I feel like the paying your dues part of comedy is barely there anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like it's so easy to just like leapfrog ahead of stuff because of things like TikTok and all this other stuff. Like, there's going to be so many people that are going to be doing stand-up comedy because they're on TikTok and they have 1 million followers and they're funny on TikTok. So they think, and guess what? People are going to go see them because they know them. And they're going to love it. And I'm like, you know, I tried to do TikTok, but I can't. It's just like, there's just so many things that I just don't like about it. It feels so desperate sometimes. Like, you're not getting views. They're like, you got to do like 6 or 7 videos a day. I'm like, 6 or 7 videos a day? That seems so fucking desperate to me. But it's working for some people. Lisa Baker's exploding. Darcy Michael almost has 1 million followers. Like, good for fucking them that they got on it. But it's not for everybody. But also, like, you know, like I said, if comedy is dead now, the way I knew it, I don't I don't want to like, people are like, well, you should just do Zoom shows to get your skills, keep your skills. And I'm like, my skills of talking to nobody and being completely awkward and having anxiety, that's not sharpening my skills. That's making me hate stand-up.
You're doing that now.
I hate it. I already hate it enough at clubs.
But to me, the idea of Zoom shows, and if people want to do them, that's fine. I never got in this to sharpen my skills. I got in this to, say things that I wanted to say to an audience and hear them respond to it. And, Zoom shows are a Band-Aid right now, and it works for some people, and it gets them through. I get it. But I also agree, if things do not go back to the way they were, I'm okay with that I might be done. That doesn't mean I'm never not going to do stand-up again. I just don't think I'm going to go back to it to the way it was, because that's the reason I got into this. I didn't get into it for the money. I didn't get in for any other reason. I was a young kid who wanted to be a comic. I got 30 years out of it. Most people can't say that. Most people can't say when they were a kid they dreamed of something and that's what they were. And I had 30 years. And I'm fine with that. And this isn't about people going, oh, Darren, stay in. This is the problem with Facebook. And me and Dave were talking about this. I made a joke today on Facebook where I said my bucket list, I must be either depressed or not had a good life because my bucket list only has fried chicken in it. It's just a cheesy joke. But some people, Dave is like, are you depressed? And other people, one other person messaged me and they did say, are you okay? And I'm like, this is the difference. I'm okay. This is a joke. Yeah. I always used to make these kinds of jokes, but now people are hypersensitive. They want to make sure everyone's okay, which I appreciate. Don't get me wrong. But now it's a different world.
Yeah. Everyone's depressed right now.
It might not. It might not be that. It might not be that other people are hypersensitive, but other people might know that other people, but they're people that are fragile. So, someone read it and they thought that you were telling the truth. Now, I never really thought that you were. Because I'd like to think that if you were really depressed, you wouldn't just mention it on social media as a cry for help. Hopefully you call like a real person, but have you ever had someone defriend you and then you know why they did it? Like you sort of like, oh, I can see that happening. I know why they might have done that.
My mom defriended me and then and then tried to add me back, and I said no, because my rule is if you defriend me, I'm not adding you back, because obviously there was a reason you defriended me, and I don't take defriending personal. But if you don't like what I say on Facebook, you're still not going to like what I say on Facebook. Because I use Facebook for comedy. This isn't real Darren. This isn't like even people from high school when they add me, I say, look, we haven't seen each other in 30, 40 years. I say some pretty horrible things on here. And you need to know that. And this is what I use Facebook for. And some people don't get that. They go, oh, I'm okay. It's all right if you say the F word. And it's obviously not that. But but that has happened. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Lisa Baker defriended me, and I'm not sure why, or if it was during some argument I had with Dana Alexander over the White Guys show or something like that.
Maybe.
But then I'm sort of nothing. But Ariana Smith defriended me, and I wasn't sure. But she's still friends with you, Darren.
How do you know people defriend you? Do you go and check and see like who your friends are all the time?
No, not all the time, but no, if. But if
someone defriended me, it would be really. You know how I found out one person did? They popped up as a friend that I should add. I'm like, I thought we were friends. That's the only way I've ever. I don't sit and go through my friends list and see who's still on my friends list.
No, I'm not doing that either. But if they have the Facebook memories thing, and if 40 people liked it, then I'll click on who those 40 people were from probably a few years ago, and I'll scroll down. No, I won't go through their profiles, but it says whether you're friends or not.
Yeah.
If you're still friends, it'll say mention or invite.
To be honest, Dave, I've done the same thing. In the memory section, you have memories. I'll say something, and someone will post something, and I'll be like, oh, I haven't heard from that person or seen them on my feed in a long time. And I'll click their name because it actually used to be my friend and wrote something, and then it says we're not friends anymore. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I know. But I have done that.
Yeah, you don't even need to go to their page. It'll just say right by their name, add friend. And you're sort of like, I thought we...
this is Erica Sigurdson. You're listening to Anything Goes on Sirius FM.
XM.
XM.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Don't worry. We'll.
Everyone's done it.
Yeah, that's
Everyone
okay.
from Vancouver has said FM.
Hey, this is Erica Sigurdson. You're listening to Anything Goes on Sirius XM.
That's great. Even though we'll probably use the one where you screwed up.
Everyone said fuck.
Oh.
He's heard it all except how to figure out his camera. Okay. How you doing, Simon?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm good. Our topic this week was restaurants. I don't know if you know that or not. It was best.
Still is or was?
Well, it's an open concept, but that's what we kind of threw out there. If anyone's got a funny restaurant story or best or worst, one of mine, I'll start just to get the vibe going. I remember one of the first times I ate at McDonald's without my parents. I was with my girlfriend at the time, and she bit into her Big Mac, and when she pulled back from her Big Mac, you could see a giant fly on the inside of the Big Mac feeding off the cheese.
Gross.
I've never had one of those sort of outrageous sort of like, man, I might have to duck out if I invite Mike Bromley in here.
Dave, what is with you, Dave?
I'm just being me.
Yeah.
Well, can we... Did Jeff watch an episode of the show last week?
Let me understand. Geoff is in an episode of The X-Files or The Twilight Zone right now.
Yes.
Burgess Meredith is going to kick his door in, and him and William Shatner are going to take him to another planet.
Yeah, there's something on the wing. Or it looks like I got that weird thing at the Science Center where you stand at one end of the room and then someone yells in the other thing at the other end of the room.
Look, Scott's walking to Geoff right now to help him out.
I feel like that's what you get when you're getting probed by the aliens. I feel like that's the only thing you're gonna see.
Yeah.
Okay, so here
What would you want to see?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. I'm not into butt stuff, even with aliens.
Here I go again.
Now it's upside down. Oh my god.
How do I switch this friggin' thing?
Okay, you know what? This is not a tutorial. We should not.
See you later. Check me out. I'm out of here.
Okay. You can watch the episode later.
Yeah, every week it's just getting funnier and funnier, Geoff.
Oh my god.
And how do I?
Okay, so Simon, Simon, do you have a restaurant story?
Sure, lots. Well, I mean, I remember in Barrie many years ago. This is in the days of Wayne Fleming running clubs up there.
Yeah, he had his club up here, yeah.
And I went for Chinese food, and there was a cigarette butt in the noodles. Just a full cigarette butt. The cook had, not thought about when he dropped his butt, like, gee, maybe
Who's smoking and cooking?
Sorry?
Lots of people. Asian restaurants.
Smoking and cooking?
Yes.
It's Barrie.
Well, I imagine so. I mean, I can't imagine the cigarette butt was in the noodles that they ordered from the manufacturer, but I guess that's possible. All I know is it was in there, and it was, it was literally in my mouth, and I went, this is not food. And the best part was the owner just wanted me give me a discount.
Yeah.
I'll take something off the bill. I said, yeah, I'm just leaving.
Yeah.
I ate at a Greek restaurant on the Danforth once. I don't have a lot of stories about weird shit being in my food. I was at a Greek restaurant on the Danforth, and the girl that I was eating with, she found a hair in her food, but she could tell that it was not from the top of someone's head. It was most definitely a pube in the food.
She was a pube expert? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, how many, pubes are pretty easy to identify, aren't they?
But different people have different kind of hair. Like, it is possible to have, especially at a Greek restaurant, to have a darker, thicker hair that's not from your ball sack.
Possible. This must have been from an English gentleman, because I think it might not have been a Greek hair, but it was clearly, it was a red hair, and it was clearly a pube.
Oh, them damn gingers.
I know. Well, hey, it's ginger pubes. It doesn't. If you have ginger pubes, doesn't mean that you're going to be ginger up top either, though. That's a bit of a
Oh, you mean the carpet doesn't match the drapes for gingers every time?
No, not all the time. Or there's many of folks with brown hair that will have ginger downstairs as well.
Or maybe they just misread the recipe, and when they said add ginger, they just misunderstood.
Oh, right. He was just trying to be considerate if someone wanted to floss after the meal.
Maybe.
I'll put some pubes in for you to floss with afterwards.
Maybe they have a little bowl of pubes, Dave, for those people that are assholes to them when they're taking their order, and they go, "Oh, Dave Martin," and just throw a bunch in.
Well,
I'm working at a restaurant right now, and I'm so over people and so over COVID. And today I yelled at 2 people. One guy walked in without a mask on, and I'm like, "Do you have a mask?" And he goes, "Oh, do you not serve people?" He's like, "I'm exempt," and I'm like, "Get out!" I just said, "Get out." He's like, "Oh, you don't serve people without a mask?" I'm like, "No, not in the middle of a pandemic. Get out." And he was all like, "Ugh." Anyway, and then there was a homeless lady that was harassing people on her patio, and I just was walking out to bring their food, and she's standing there telling them how the government is trying to control us, and I just look at her, I'm like, "Move it along, Patricia." I've been having so much fun yelling at non-compliant people. It's one of my new favorite pastimes. I might give up stand-up just to get a job where I get to yell at people. Like, I would work at a call center if all I get is dumb people and I can tell them that they're dumb all day long. That's what I want.
Isn't that just a patio show, an outdoor show anyways?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Yelling at dumb people.
Telling homeless people to go away.
You should get a job at an amusement park. You can yell at people all day long. That's what I did. Anyways, when I worked for a summer and a half at an amusement park, I yelled at kids for their own protection. That's what I always did. I'm always afraid to send stuff back because I've never worked in a restaurant, but I know the urban myths of sending shit back and then people doing weird stuff to the food.
You just have to be polite about it. You can't be a dick about it.
Right.
Like if you get something and it's not the way that you wanted it to be, just be like, "I'm sorry, this isn't what I wanted." They're not gonna jizz on it. They're not gonna sit on it. But if you're like, "You fucking idiots did this wrong," then yeah, you're gonna get something.
Wait, if it comes back and it takes 20 minutes, they may have jizzed on it. That's probably the amount of time it takes to jizz on food is probably 20 minutes. So just maybe have an egg timer, like a jizz timer with you in your purse or your bag. So if this is not what I ordered, then flip it over. If it gets to, get the fuck out of there because you're getting more protein than you bargained for.
Well, I mean, and you have to have a really...
You could jizz really, really quickly. Some of those line cooks are quite young. They can get it out in about a minute and a half there, and they're not all 40-year-old line cooks.
Oh, thank you, 40.
40.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
40 and still jizzing in 20 minutes. You hear that, my wife Brandy in the other room?
And I'm not an authority on jizz as one who's never actually tasted. Maybe my own by accident, but it's sort of like I'd really have to be positive, like that someone jizzed in this to complain, and then if you're wrong, I mean, how do you prove that it's right? You're right or wrong? If I mean, a cigarette butt's one thing, but then to be like, no, I really know someone jizzed in this.
That's a fucked up episode of Matlock. I'm telling you right now.
Oh, and you're really saying a lot about yourself by calling that out too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know jizz. Believe you me.
Yeah. Ivan Rakoff, jizz connoisseur. Isn't that what you do during the day?
Like jizz.
It's bubbling and it has chunks in it and it has like iron filings and sort of weird sort of rainbow swirls in it, like a piece of like a transmission fluid. Yeah, jizz.
Like Sherlock Holmes, he's clearly left-handed and walks with a limp.
For Dave, for you to get to 20 minutes, we'd have to have Bruce Hornsby playing in the background.
Oh, yes. No, Bruce Hornsby is a boner killer. That's what every album that he puts out should be boner killer, or You're Not Getting Laid After This, the Bruce Hornsby Experience.
Dave, your anger is a boner killer. You're anger for no reason. What,
right.
Did Bruce Hornsby touch you somewhere?
Yeah.
Not in my heart, that's for sure.
Did he jizz in your soup?
Not in my heart or my wallet to buy one of his stinking albums that is like appropriate for elevators and just
This is a restaurant. This is not some concert podcast.
But did you
does Bruce Hornsby have a restaurant?
Yeah, it's the toilet.
Dave's lost 50 pounds climbing the stairs just to avoid elevators in case Bruce Hornsby comes.
In case Bruce Hornsby shows up, yeah.
Right, good for you, Dave. I like that. That's
shows,
nice,
doesn't
Simon. It's working, Dave. It's working. Good for you.
Well, when I worked at a movie theater, one of the tracks that they played was "That's Just the Way It Is" when we cleaned up the movie theater. And I don't know if that was because it's a song about welfare or the welfare state, whatever. But I don't know. That's probably why it sticks in my craw, is because I remember scooping up empty boxes of popcorn.
Oh, so that's Bruce Hornsby's issue. That's his problem. You're tied to a memory that he had nothing to do with, and it's his fault.
Yeah, well, that same thing why you got raped at summer camp and to the album of Kiss, and that's why you listen to Kiss all the time, so you get to relive that over and over again. For me, it's a little different. I don't like to relive Bruce Hornsby because I picked up garbage with it.
Let me tell you something, Beth. I don't hear you calling. All I hear is me getting raped. That's
yeah.
it, Dave.
Beth, I hear you. Beth, please hear me screaming into my pillow that I am trying to use this to muffle that.
Well, what I like is we're 30 minutes in. We've already talked about eating cum and rape. Way to go, Dave.
Well, this is not my restaurant. Okay, okay, do we have like I always think of people put shit into bad food, and like that's always something I always associate with fast food restaurants because the employees, it's just a date, it's just it's not a career for them, but so it's like they don't give a shit anyways, and it's fast. So, but
they have pretty strict procedure,
right?
As a rule, they're mostly about cleanliness, if not quality. It's more likely, an independent Chinese restaurant in Barrie that that nobody's watching, and you're not going to get fired because it's your uncle who owns it.
Right.
You would be surprised. In a previous life, I was an insurance inspector and did lots of restaurants in Toronto. And you would be surprised. The front looks fantastic, but the stuff that we would see in the kitchen, it was unbelievable. Some of the places that didn't look so good out front were actually fantastic in the kitchen. So it's unpredictable for
That's
sure.
why I always liked LA's way, where they had to post a letter outside. So if it was an A, you know exactly what you're getting. You don't have to tour the place. Someone has done that. Obviously, there's ways around that. But overall, I kind of like that way. So it's like, so I know exactly what I'm getting. Someone who's a professional looking at like a health inspector. My wife, one of her best friends, a health inspector up here. And, there's all kinds of crazy stories. But for the most part, most restaurants are trying their best. This is pre-COVID, of course.
But during COVID, it's kind of fixed because when you get the food and you don't like it, you just get right back in the drive-through. You tell them what's wrong, and then they've made it fresh by the time you get to the window. It's just a constant circle. That's the new norm. I don't think, like I'm in Kingston, I think they have a record for the most number of restaurants in a single block. I would say after this pandemic, there'll be less than half of those restaurants, and I'm not sure they're gonna all come back. In movie theaters too, I think that's going to be an issue. That was something I was going to mention to you, Darren. If you ever want to come down here and do comedy, there's a guy that has struck a deal with the Independent Theater on Princess.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, yeah. So I think that's great, and it's set up perfectly, much better than the existing club that Simon has played at. But I like the fact that it's another. I saw Simon at the current club.
Yeah.
He's never going to go see you, Dave.
Well, no, I've been to the same place Simon is. Hey, I wouldn't even go see me. Especially
we were there together last time.
I will make my point of going to see you because I have a whole bunch of Bruce Hornsby T-shirts purchased at the various concerts.
Oh, shit.
And Darren says you're not a detail kind of guy. Hence the no, don't know if it's Monday or Tuesday or what day.
May 3rd or May 4th.
This is two weeks in a row. Do you book yourself to these clubs?
And show up on a Wednesday night?
Are they open? Yeah.
Oh, is this a skit? Is this the comedy team of Mike and Darren?
No. It's
and we're gradually seeing why no one's heard of you as a duo yet? Okay.
Oh, here it comes.
Next week I'm inviting Bruce Hornsby and Lisa Baker to come on.
That's right.
And we're gonna corner Dave.
Oh, fuck.
And Dave's
Yep.
gonna have a breakthrough. We're gonna figure out what is wrong with Dave.
I'll ask her
The
why
next
we're not
one-
friends anymore.
The next theme will be what is wrong with Dave. And we will invite everyone to come on and explain to Dave what's wrong with him.
Oh, wow, okay. Do I get to start?
No fucking around. That will be next week's episode. What is wrong with Dave?
Do I have to be there and
No, you
edit
don't
it?
have to be there.
Okay.
And edit it.
Yeah.
It'll be a
Yeah.
tweeted episode.
And edit
Yeah.
and put it online, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah. And promote it as well. So here, watch me gradually crumble from the inside out.
So the one thing that was brought up, Mike brought up, is an interesting point about the post-pandemic, and this is outside of restaurants, but there's talk about in America the government going after the big four and trying to pull them apart, which is Amazon, Apple, Google, and is it Facebook? I think is the fourth. I'm not sure who the fourth is, but they're talking about antitrust and corporate monopolies and breaking them apart, because right now Amazon is of course owning everything, and so the same thing is going to happen in the restaurant trade. Only chains are going to last, and those small mom and pops are going to go the way of the side. So I wonder. I think they should break them up.
I think it's different with food than with the other thing, because it takes too much money, for those huge monopolies, like the way they had to break up the movie business a million years ago, right? They used to distribute and display. They were the theaters and the distributor and the production, and they made those into three different things because they said, there's no competition otherwise. But with restaurants, it's different because it's only one place at a time. It's not like there won't always be room for somebody who does a good job to compete against, chains that are what they are. But there will always be room for real art in cuisine.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you never see anybody. You're not going to see Gordon Ramsay walk into an Arby's or anything like that. I mean, that'd be fun. I'd watch that. But
there's a lot of talk of what's going to change in the food business, and I think Simon knows. We have a mutual friend, Ruth, down on Prince Edward County.
Oh yeah.
And Ruth is she's a good cook, unless she's going to make you a grilled cheese, and we won't even get talking about that. But
serving me,
she's great at baking, and during this pandemic she started baking things and sticking them in this health department approved cubby at her house, and she's built up quite a trade of people that come by to buy her stuff. There's very little overhead. And in Kingston, they're talking about food trucks. There's a lot of really good cooks, but you can't invest in a bricks and mortar type of setup. Rents are crazy.
Right.
And as a consumer, I would like a kick-ass whatever. And, I'd rather the money go to the person that's made it rather than the landlord and everything else. So I'm fine with the chains having the high rent stuff. And, you'll always have to go with a family to someplace. But the rest of the food trucks, I have no problem with.
Well, the other side of the Ruth story, who's doing great right now, is my friend Liz, who ran Dave's on St. Clair, owned it for 10 plus years, and had to close down during this, and is now setting up a farm situation, because she just couldn't afford it anymore. I mean, who can pay rent when there's no money coming in?
But there's
The only
also
reason-
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Vertical integration of food supplies become more important. So there's a coffee shop in Port Hope called Happenstance. It's a young couple. They sold a couple of places in Toronto, moved to Port Hope. They invested in roasting their own coffee. They buy responsibly grown beans. Then they've opened up a bakery. They pay farmers that grow the grains locally and turn them into flour. So and they've got chickens and they've got a farm. So when you buy your food, you're going to know where it is, and it goes right back into the community that you're living in. And I think that is going to be a trend. I think it's sustainable, much better than going to the grocery store and buying coffee from whatever and paying Loblaws the premium. Why not pay the same price and give people a better quality of life? I don't want to spend money in a grocery store where it's now self-checkout. I'd rather deal with real people.
Well,
It'd be cool if more people think like that, though. That's the only problem, is that you're in a minority. Everybody says, "Oh, I want to support this and that and this and that," but then they'll still go to Walmart. They'll still go do this stuff,
right.
And they'll be like, "Well, we go to a local restaurant once a month." I'm like, "Well, that's nice. That's really nice, but like, the only reason small restaurants are still open, and I work at a small restaurant, is because of government subsidy. If the government was not subsidizing these places right now, they would all be closed. The only restaurants that would be open would be Boston Pizza and the chain restaurants, because they have the capital, because they have they do make money off of Skip the Dishes and Uber Eats, because they get discounts because they are bigger. The small ones do not get discounts.
This was my issue. My issue is, I don't think a lot of people realize, I have not used Skip the Dishes, Eats, any of these things, because 30%, and it can be even more than that, 30%, the restaurant has to take a hit. So a week ago, there's a Mexican restaurant in Barrie. We saw it's like an Uber Eats or DoorDash. I can't remember which it is. So we just called, I ordered, I picked it up, and I went in and I just said, look, I want to not use these things. Can you tell me how much you would make if you I don't have a problem. It was $50 for the meal. What would you have had to pay Uber Eats? And they said over 30%. So they would have only gotten $32 for this meal. So of course, not only 50, I taxed it, I tipped another $10 on top. And just to look in their eye is you could tell that this is making a difference. If some people can't not use these services because they're disabled or they have no way of getting it, 100%. But if more people knew exactly how much these fucking groups were charging for the small independent, you want to fuck McDonald's over, fine. You want to fuck Burger King over, fine. They'll get by. But it's like one person also said, these were never meant to be 100% of their money, these delivery systems. They're just supposed to add to their bottom line. Yeah. And with the pandemic, now it's everything.
Yeah, whenever I see someone that is getting McDonald's delivered to Uber Eats, it blows my mind. It disgusts me. I feel ashamed for them. McDonald's is like a used car. It just the value of it depreciates like 50% as soon as you get it off the lot. I mean, you have to eat McDonald's immediately. You can't order that shit. A pizza travels well. And I had some. Well, I don't know what would happen to a guy if he was delivering food for Uber Eats and then he left it in front of the wrong person's door. And then that person opened up their door and just ate all the food anyways. Would that delivery?
Be in trouble.
He would get in trouble?
The person that didn't get it would get refunded. I don't know what happens to that guy, but
nothing happens to you, Dave. Nothing happens.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
So don't worry. The whole restaurant,
Well, tacos don't travel well either.
Hi, this is Ernest Borgnine. You're listening to Anything Goes with Darren Frost on Laugh Attack XM Radio.
Thank you.
Thank you so
much. Well, that's okay.
Okay, I just wanted to keep it. That was too many people, Dave.
Can we talk to the person that's here in the bottom?
Yes. Please say hello. We have not talked. You sat there so politely and listened.
You vaped a bit.
Oh, you guys talking about me?
Yes.
Oh, hello guys. What's going on?
Good.
Who are you, Kareem?
Hey, I'm just a fan of Edmonton comedy, here to support a Zoom show.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
If y'all want me to be funny, I can be funny.
No, but I want to be polite. Make sure that at least introduce yourself. Like you're from Edmonton. What's your first name?
Yeah, I'm Kareem.
Kareem. Okay.
I used to do stand-up in Edmonton.
Okay.
But have since been away from the craft. But I've been writing a lot of jokes lately, hoping to get back on stage once the world goes back to normal. I swear to God, I just got my first vaccine today. So what's up? What's up?
Congratulations.
Good job.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
And how old are you, Kareem?
And I'm 27 years old.
And you got the vaccination already. That's great.
Yeah.
Good.
So if you guys want the story, it's hilarious.
Bring it on.
Sure,
Yeah,
give
go.
a short version. Go ahead.
Did it happen in a restaurant?
No,
Oh.
it's even better.
Okay.
Because I was so much of a drug addict last year and I had to check myself into a hospital, I was like, hey, that's technically a qualification. So I'm just kind of loopholing my way in there.
Can I ask what drugs were you addicted to?
Cocaine, baby.
Okay.
Wow.
It's so Edmonton. You know.
That is so Edmonton.
Kathleen, you know, it's just me and old Billy back in the day.
It just kept you awake so that you knew you were in Edmonton. What now? At what point did you think it was a problem?
Oh,
when he ran out of cocaine.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
every time I ran.
Cash flow.
Yeah. Every time you get denied that 3 a.m. text and they're like, no, I'm not delivering anymore. You're on your own. Go to bed. You're like, oh, I can't go to bed.
Must be something to watch on TV.
That's right.
Must put stuff over there to other place and move it back. Yeah.
Look how excited Dave is getting when we're talking about cocaine.
Well, before he was talking about quitting comedy, and I wanted to talk about that too, because what made you want stop?
Well, you know, sometimes you're like, your girlfriend's like, hey, who are you talking to outside for half an hour? And I was like, oh, that's my uncle who moved to this town, who I don't really know that well, and was like, hey, let's meet up. But, you know, he's weird, 10 p.m., let's meet up. Like,
no, I was wondering about the comedy. You said you were doing comedy for a while.
Oh, I was doing stand-up, and then I actually got hired to be a tour guide in Southeast Asia for like 18 to 35-year-old tour groups.
Wow.
And
Way better than doing stand-up in Edmonton.
it was way better, but believe it or not, it probably paid the same. Which
Yeah,
was
but what's a
pretty
better
much nothing.
experience? What's a better experience? That sounds like a great experience. Did you speak another language?
No, I didn't need to. I was only doing it for white people.
Okay.
Oh,
What do you know about Southeast Asia?
I mean, a fair bit. I did Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia for like a year.
No, but I mean, before you were a guide,
Yeah.
you already knew?
But I already knew what the languages.
No, what Simon's asking is, why did you get that job? Because before that, obviously you know stuff about it now, but before, what were your qualifications for you to be a guide in an area of the world that you may not have been to?
Well, I actually traveled. No, perfect question, perfectly worded question. So I actually traveled with that tour group like a year prior.
Oh, okay.
Traveled with them, got to know the guides, hung around the area, went to like the after tour. You know, like when you're off tour and you're like, you can do what you want. You don't have to like do stuff with your groups. That's when you like actually have like a pirate's vacation. You do dumb shit when you're out there because you can finally like not have to be normal around people and
right. And it's
party
not so
like
it's not so regimented. You can do what you want.
It is the best. But so what I did was I went and partied with those guys during their off time, got to know them, came back to Canada, like worked for a little bit, and then when they had a job opening, I applied, and they're like, "Oh, we already know this guy."
Right, great.
Yeah, we know this guy. We'll take him.
Now, how were you able to keep your temper in check when you were dealing with the guests? Because I've seen those double-decker buses go around Toronto, and I know a lot about Toronto, but I have a feeling that every tour would just end up with me yelling at people, "Just look it up, assholes!"
Every tour typically ends with you know, I probably slept with somebody on day 3 or 4, and then by day 18, I've slept with maybe somebody else in the group, and then stopped something with them. So there was a lot of like mixed feelings floating around.
So can I ask you a question? So let me get this straight, just to get an idea of what this tour is. Because when I was younger and single, I looked into some of these. Is this a situation where you land and you go for like 25 days on a bus, and you're all as a group?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Right. So that's why you get to know people, fuck someone on day 3,
Oh, okay.
stop by day 5, hook up with someone else on day 17 because it's the same people and you've gotten to know each other so well.
Yeah.
Which then leads to problems, as Dave was asking.
Well, because I just thought, okay, I thought for a second it might have been like an hour tour you were going on. And I was like, you slept with someone after an hour tour of the... Okay, well, that makes a little bit more sense. Could you find cocaine when you were over in Southeast Asia?
I couldn't, believe it or not, I wasn't doing drugs as much back then. But I did manage to find mushrooms and weed.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Dave,
I mean,
cocaine is an Edmonton drug, okay? It's not a Southeast Asia drug.
That's right. And I did smoke opium.
Oh, nice. Okay. I don't know why that's my response.
Not good for your posture. Not good for your posture.
Opium?
Yeah.
Rob, your mic's
Tell me, because I've been, my gain is up. Is that better? Better.
Turn your gain down.
I was so hopeful for Edmonton that we were gonna get backyard shows back again, but then they went and had a fucking rodeo this weekend, and now there's gonna be no more outdoor activities until the hick population, the hillbilly population of Alberta, can get their shit together.
But couldn't you go and do that job now then?
To go to Asia?
Yeah, Kareem, couldn't you actually go to Asia now and do that job?
I mean, here's the
cocaine's going to be in Edmonton when you get back.
Dave, you know the show Banged Up Abroad? You would have a whole fucking season the way you travel.
Well, yeah. Banged up abroad? Is that what I would do? I would bang up abroad when I was going abroad.
You see, and the reason why I wouldn't be able to go back and do that job is because I was banging so many broads abroad that they fired me.
Oh, you got fired.
I am not so much welcome back.
That's so funny. You were trying to play The Bachelor, but you were never The Bachelor.
Oh, man.
Right,
fucking Edmonton Dave Martin. That's what you are.
That's me.
So were these complaints from the women you had sex with that?
Yeah.
Almost always.
They always would figure it out. Because
you're supposed to do a survey at the end to get your company tank top so that you can go back to Canada and show everybody you went on one of these trips. So everybody had to fill out a survey and they'll be like, oh, they're absolutely confidential. And then they get together every 3 months or so and they're like, these are the things people said about you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That is always awkward when you're sitting with a group of people and you know that you've slept with all of them, and none of them know that they also.
That's how Rob
It's
feels
an
in
Edmonton
this
thing.
room.
It's an Edmonton thing.
Did you hand out STD tests as everyone got off the bus?
I came back to Canada and I immediately went to the STD clinic only to find out that I had chlamydia, but I don't know at what point I got it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but 14 people over there do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I magically had chlamydia.
That's some international STDs.
That's right. Mr. Worldwide.
Actually, if you go over, if you travel for like a 10-hour flight, it wears off in a 10-hour flight. So you must have got chlamydia when you were back in Canada.
I think if I go scuba diving and then I go into an airplane, that it takes away the chlamydia.
Yeah.
I heard that too. Yeah.
That's why they tell you you're not supposed to do it.
May I just say that our initial assessment of Karima's quiet and polite has been completely shattered.
I just didn't know.
Quite polite.
I didn't know if I was supposed to be an audience member or a participant yet.
No, we want to be able to join in like a talk radio event.
Yeah,
but only on Zoom. Please don't touch us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at a safe distance here.
And what's going on with you these days, Rob Trick?
I was in the forge today, finishing a knife for one Simon Rakoff.
Oh, really?
Yes.
We talked about that.
Yes.
Oh, I'm excited to see it.
I almost could get to it. It's in the kitchen.
Oh, cool.
So it started its life as
a fan of Forged in Fire.
Okay.
It's the sword making show.
Yeah.
Right. Or knives. And Rob is
I thought you meant the Anvil album.
No.
That's funny. Is that an actual album?
Yes, yes, yes.
That's hysterical.
So
You never
I,
heard of Anvil?
I have.
Don't be
Yeah,
so
my-
humble about it.
Simon.
I know Anvil. My accountant's the guy's brother. Oh yeah, I know Anvil.
And what about
Rob is a forger. I mean, in the good way.
Right.
I blacksmith. And it started its life as a leaf spring. And it's actually had various incarnations as I decided on its size and girth, and now it's essentially a chef's knife. So you will be cutting potatoes. Just instructions. It will rust because good iron rusts. That's one thing, and you have to dry it in between uses. Simon.
I will hand wash, dry between uses.
Yeah, I say that about my penis too.
I was gonna say Kareem could use that advice.
Yeah, Kareem. This also. Yeah, this is for you too.
I try to do that when I get out of the shower.
Salt it.
Shampoo heavily. Salt heavily.
Yeah.
Just because sperm is salty doesn't mean it acts as a preservative.
Yeah, and hold your crotch up to a microwave too. That doesn't hurt either.
No, girls just don't know if you've came inside them when you do it in the ocean.
Ooh,
Oh
risky
my
cream
God!
pie.
Jesus
That's so Lamaze of you.
Yeah.
You should have a terrible advice column.
That's how my first was born. That's
In
how
a
my
pool?
first was born. Ocean sex.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
well, how about that?
The motion of the ocean.
Damn straight. That's what I said.
The number
Oh
of
my
stories that come to my mind when I actually was a person who was involved in a sexual relationship. I'm old now.
Wow.
You
I'm
mean
not that
happily
old.
married, right,
I'm not
Rob?
that old.
What's that, Simon?
You mean happily married, right, Rob?
Exactly. I'm allowed to be married, is what it is.
Has anyone here actually worked at at Canada's most popular restaurant is considered to be Tim Hortons? Has anyone ever actually worked at a Tim Hortons?
No.
My first ever acting job was in a Tim Hortons commercial.
Right. What did you have to do?
Well, I had to, it was a sandwich, but you know what's fascinating about the Tim Hortons is they do so many commercials that they have a Tim Hortons that they keep in a truck, like,
Yes.
and can assemble.
Yes.
Yeah.
Darren, you've probably done one too then, Darren.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And so.
And Canadian Tire. Canadian Tire has near the IKEA. Not a lot of people know this. They have a whole Canadian Tire. They just shoot commercials in.
Oh, because I've seen the Canadian Tire near the IKEA. I
Yeah,
assumed
there's
it was
two of them
actually a
there.
Canadian Tire.
Yeah, there's actually two there. One's a real store, and then there's like a kind of building behind it that's also a store.
That's awesome.
It's always my favorite when someone asks me from another country who Tim Hortons is. I always say he's Canada's favorite drunk driver. Because A, that is true. He's a drunk driver. And B, well, if you just leave the conversation, their first question is like, there is a top 10 of drunk drivers that are famous in Canada?
Yes.
And Tim Hortons is number one.
Tim Hortons.
I didn't even make the list.
Hey, this is Russell Peters, and I'm on Kathleen McGee's show, Anything Goes. Oh yeah, Dave Martin and Darren Frost are on it too, but I really believe that it's Kathleen McGee's show because she can squirt. Oh yeah, and it's on XM Radio, but I guess you knew that because you're listening to it.
Yes.
I dated a guy that worked at, I don't know if he worked at corporate or he worked somehow with Tim Hortons, and then that's when I stopped ever going there because he told me like they don't bake anything there, they just reheat everything.
Yes,
Nothing, and even
frozen.
the coffee is not ground; it's liquid. When they
Yeah,
get
it's like a syrup, isn't it? It's more like a thick molasses.
That all changed in the late 80s, I think. They actually used to have bakers. They do the night shift, and each one had their own thing. And then in the 80s, it got sold, and then it got sold again. It's actually not even a Canadian company anymore. It's owned by an American conglomerate that also owns Burger King and a few other things.
Same with the Hudson Bay Company.
Oh,
you
that's
know that
beautiful,
it's
Rob.
not even a Canadian company anymore.
Hudson's Bay.
For real?
Was bought by an American company. The most Canadian company in Canada isn't even Canadian anymore.
In our history, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think everything just shows up raw, doesn't it? And then they put it in like baking, heating ovens. You know, it's like, I mean, Subway makes its own bread, but they don't make it there. It just sort of shows
comes
up
in boxes.
Yeah, it just comes in clumps.
Yeah, they heat it up. Yeah, I mean, it gets baked there, but it's
any
cool.
place that has like a row of microwaves that they just like taco time horns, don't eat there because they just reheat stuff. Like I heard that Applebee's does that. That Applebee's is like it has an actual kitchen and it's mostly just microwaves.
Well, that's the same thing as Boston Pizza. Other than the pizza, supposedly everything you buy at Boston Pizza comes in a bag.
This
Right.
is
Just
heartbreaking,
microwave it, cut it open, drop it in. That's it.
The Hudson's Bay Company is owned by an American company, and I thought buying like that Pendleton expensive ass sweater was like doing something incredibly patriotic. And like as a brown guy, I feel like double duped here.
Yeah, you got fucked over.
Who's a brown guy?
I'm browner than this fucking guy.
Another fun fact about Hudson Bay Company: they don't even take pelts anymore.
They don't take pelts.
I worked at a fur trading port.
And
As a fur trader.
You brought in a bloody beaver and just slapped it down on the countertop at the
trade store.
Yeah.
And
you said this is what happens when you go on tour in fucking Thailand and Laos.
Yeah.
And if you think Dave's restaurant had a lot of hair in it, try to eat the cafeteria at the fur trading.
Yeah.
Is that your apartment, Dave, or is that a backdrop?
It's a backdrop.
It looks good, though. Looks
That's
cool.
his fancy apartment.
No, that's his
It's
apartment.
pretty small.
It's my apartment. It's pretty small. Yeah, that's
This is my apartment. See my apartment?
Yeah. That's your.
It's 8 foot by 8 foot. This is what I live in.
That's a nice sound, insulated sound booth.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I got the whole rig.
You've put a pillow behind your head, Kareem. That works.
It does, yeah. It's actually, to be honest, my best pillow. Like, not even the pillows that I have on my bed. This is my best pillow. And this is what I use it the most for.
You're
They're
getting
like,
old. You're getting old.
I'm
kind
getting
of
old.
infected.
27.
Let me know when your YouTube
best
channel.
Pillow. You're getting old when you're like, this is my best pillow. You're getting old.
Yeah.
I have a favorite spoon, but what does that mean? That I'm a heroin addict.
I was going to say, let me guess, cocaine.
Yeah.
No, that's a favorite debit card. Like your debit or your Visa, or your ID.
Spoons. Photographers. One of the best camera a photographer can have is the one he has with them, and the best spoon a heroin addict can have is the one they have with them.
Yes.
Okay.
We're learning so much this episode.
That was one to grow on. That was one to grow on.